What has happened to us that we really don't care as long as there's a turkey and ham on our table? What happens on the other is just something you see other people go through.
What does Thanksgiving look like for those in our communities that are homeless?
Sometimes it looks like them going to their families who have no idea that they're homeless.
They have no idea they're homeless.
No idea. Throughout the holidays and my years of being here, we'll hear people that'll say, "Oh, I went and visited my." What do you mean you went and visited your children? Do they even know where you are? No, I don't want to burden. I either don't want to burden them or I am embarrassed.
And what they'll do is their family lives up north and they'll get on a bus and they clean themselves up. They go up there and they spend a week, 2, being grandpa and the whole 9 yards and then come back. But I've had to do it more than once where I've had to call families and say, I need to let you know that your dad passed. Well, who are you? We're a homeless outreach. Well, my dad wasn't homeless, so why would you know him? So, well, actually, your dad has been homeless for the last 4 years. That is devastating for them to hear.
And so I really encourage people to just, of course, be thankful for what you have, but also think about the fact that you really are more blessed than you think you are.
Hi everyone, Tracy Lewis with Imagine Marketing, and we are here with Pastor Scott, who is the founder and CEO of Matthew's Hope, as well as Shelley Bradford, who is the president and executive director of Matthew's Hope. This podcast is produced and filmed and edited by our amazing John Burkett with Imagine. Welcome to this week's episode of Straight Talk, No BS with Matthew's Hope, presented by Imagine Marketing. At Imagine Marketing, we put in the extra effort to craft a tailored strategy for success. We also offer photography, videography, and even podcast production services like this. So book a free consultation today. In this episode, we'll be talking about what Thanksgiving looks like for those in our communities that are experiencing homelessness. This week is Thanksgiving. Would anyone like to start by sharing something that you are thankful for at the moment?
So I'm actually very thankful for our staff. We actually have an amazing staff. We are in the best place that we've been in years. And our volunteers, we have some volunteers that have been with us all of 15 years. And then we have new volunteers in Brevard, as well as Orange County, that have taken this on as a job and have the passion. It's just amazing.
Yeah, we really can't say enough about our volunteers. I don't think we get a chance often enough to thank them. But the truth is, when you take our staff and you start peeling off the medical team, the teachers, the shop workers, all that stuff, you got down to about 8 people at each location. The rest of those people are all volunteers, and they can amount to the hundreds. And like she said, it was really interesting. When I saw Carolyn the other day, she was actually with me before I called it Matthew's Hope, that's pretty crazy that she's been a volunteer that long and stuck with me through thick and thin. And I, without buttering up the one to the left of me here, is that my left? Yeah, it's still my left. I'm thankful for Shelley. She has made it possible for me to do what I do best. And she's not afraid of anything. And because of that, then I got to be thankful for her husband too, because he puts up with a lot. There's times where she puts in some extra hours because we're working on a grant or something that, we learned something at 5 o'clock on a Friday that has to happen right then. And 99.999% of the time, she's bang on it, and that's huge for me to where the point is when something doesn't happen, I'm more surprised that it's like, oh, she didn't do that, but she always does that.
Yeah.
And I will also say for Charlene, my better half, that she puts up with a lot. If people think I'm a handful at work, they would have no idea what I must be like at home. And for Shannon, our other director, our Orange County director, for just being who she is and loving people the way that she loves them. And quite honestly, probably the only person that can love them how she loves them because of her own story. So it's sad because we could go on. You're going to miss somebody, but without our donors, our volunteers, our community partners and all that, it takes all that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm often the one that is in the magazine or on the TV. And I always try to tell them, look, this is a big operation. A lot of people are making this happen. That typically gets cut in every interview. But the truth is, I am absolutely nobody, and Matthew's Hope does not exist with all those people we just mentioned. It is truly, I used to hate that, it takes a village. It damn sure takes a village.
It absolutely does. And I am thankful for my husband as well.
Of course.
He is absolutely the hero in this whole story.
He
Just
likes
like
to play
Scott
dress
said.
up. He can be kind of a hottie.
So we won't
Oh,
go there.
Okay, let's go on.
I'll
about
share.
that.
I'll
That's
share
weird.
my thankfulness.
That's weird.
That is weird, but it's true.
Okay, back to me.
Lord. Yes, ma'am.
What are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for our time here because since meeting you, Scott, years ago, I've been learning so much and it's been very helpful. And I'm just thankful that we can get together and do this podcast so the community can learn what I've been learning because I think it's super helpful. So thank you guys and
That's cool.
all that you guys have been doing.
Well,
really good.
you guys Imagine has a great team also and has helped make this possible. We can dream things up all day. I tell people all the time, I'm really good at coming up with stuff. Then we got to figure out how to make
How
it
to
work.
execute it. Yeah.
And we are surrounded by people that help us execute it. Imagine is those people. You are this, John and people see this sometimes. They probably think we're just kind of sitting around talking and some guy with a camera. No, what's happening right now is there's 4 cameras on me, 3 microphones, and a partridge in a pear tree. I mean, there's something going on. And then John has to take this. We don't do a lot of editing. It can get raw sometimes. And I tell him sometimes, don't you dare take that out. But he makes this look good. And that's huge.
All right. So what does the schedule for Matthew's Hope look like this week, Thanksgiving week?
So we'll be open Monday through Thursday. No, we won't. Lies, all lies. We'll be open Monday through Wednesday, and then we'll be closed Thursday and Friday. And the reason is, and I'm going to just go off of what Scott always says, there's always some kind of church, some kind of organization that wants to feed the homeless at Thanksgiving and at Christmas. And so that really does kind of give us a little bit of a break to just be able to sit back and enjoy our families because the rest of the year we are on the go.
Yeah.
Especially starting, October to the end of the year, we are so busy.
It's been a lot. It gets nonstop. I mean, we ask staff not to take a lot of time off because we have a couple issues going on here. We're in the middle of giving season, which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
As much as half of our budget, sometimes more, can happen in the last 3 months of the year.
Oh.
We're also experiencing growth like we've never seen before. Not just spurts. We're seeing floods of growth right now and people in need. We're underfunded. We're understaffed. We're trying to maneuver through all that, plus the economy being what it is. For some people, apparently, it's really great. For most of the people we deal with, not so much.
Yeah.
And we're trying to maneuver through that. But I do say it that during the holidays, everybody wants to help. The challenge is we need help 365 days a year. And we want to invite people into the greatest journey, quite honestly, you'll ever take, is the one you'll take at Matthew's Hope, because you will see things that you're going to see some things that are going to rip your heart apart, but you're also going to see some things that you're almost feeling like God gave you a glimpse behind the curtain because it's just so damn cool to see. And it's almost like, oh, was I supposed to see that? Was that for me to see?
Yeah.
And that kind of what gets us up the next day.
What does Thanksgiving look like for those in our communities that are homeless?
Sometimes it looks like just that, going to a church and having a meal. Sometimes it looks like them going to their families who have no idea that they're homeless.
They have no idea they're homeless.
No idea. I'm going to tell a real quick story, and I'm going to try to be very sensitive while I tell this story. We actually just had a homeless person pass away. She had a higher education. She worked at Lockheed. Decided to take her retirement. She was in her 30s, I believe. Decided to take her retirement to start a jewelry business. Moved to New York. She found it hard to be successful in New York, so she told her family she was moving back south to Atlanta. They did not know that she was here homeless. Wow. And her family, and she was homeless because she was embarrassed to tell her family that she wasn't successful. And when they found out that she actually lived miles from where they were taken back. And so that is a lot of the stories that we hear. And they're, throughout the holidays and my years of being here, we'll hear people that'll say, oh, I went and visited my What do you mean you went and visited your children? Do they even know where you are? No, I don't want to. I either don't want to burden them or I am embarrassed, and so people just don't know.
Especially with men, if they lost their spouse earlier, they really struggle in ways that you wouldn't expect for some of the people with the level of education and the life they've lived. And what they'll do is their family lives up north, and they'll get on a bus. And what they'll usually say is they're not flying because they'll say something like, I'm afraid of the plane right now, whatever. So they'll take a bus. So they're really doing that because it's cheaper. Okay. And they clean themselves up. They go up there and they spend a week, two, being grandpa and the whole 9 yards, and then come back. And the crappiest thing that ever happens, and I've had to do it more than once. I haven't done it in a while, but I've had to do it more than once, where I've had to call families and say, I need to let you know that your dad passed. Well, who are you? Well, my name's Scott Ballou. I said, I run a ministry called Matthew's Hope. Well, what's Matthew's Hope? We're a homeless outreach. Well, my dad wasn't homeless, so why would you know him? So, well, actually, your dad has been homeless for the last 4 years and under our care. Well, why would he tell me? He was too proud, and he felt that you had your own hands full. That is devastating for them to hear. It's devastating even trying to get it out of my mouth, because you realize that you're going to hit them with this boulder of information that they're trying to process. Not only that he's gone, but that he was living in the woods or on the streets or whatever. And it's a lot. It's a lot. But, and we have people that will let them, even on a local basis, they let the family member in, but they can't stay. You can come for Thanksgiving dinner, but that's it. So there's a lot of things. And then there's, unfortunately, the difference. It's be interesting, because this is really the first year, even though the HB 1365 became a law October 1st of last year, this is really the first year that we're seeing, the first time over the last few months where we're seeing more arrests of people for sleeping outside. And in the past, you had homeless people that were in their camps. I used to take turkeys out. My youngest daughter and I used to take turkeys out and feed them. We'd have a little Detroit, little pull cart behind us, and we take all the food. We serve meals and do that. The camps don't exist anymore, so these people are basically going to be roaming around. Businesses are going to be closed. I don't know what that's going to look like for them. I'm hoping that arrests don't happen just because they finally get exhausted and sit down somewhere and fall asleep.
Yeah.
But it may be different this year. One thing I will tell you is that before the last meals of the holidays, before going to the holidays, we always try to do a bigger thing. Whether it's a Thanksgiving dinner that we do, we just don't do it on Thanksgiving, because again, other places are doing that, which we're thankful for. That gives our folks a break. The other side of it is, I want everybody to know that time you give at Thanksgiving and that time you give at Christmas, we're doing that same thing week in and week out, day in and day out. And we need the help. And if you can't support us in volunteering, what have you, then just your time, talents, and treasures, whatever you can do, it will be needed.
If one of our viewers or listeners is getting together with family and friends this week, what is one topic related to homelessness that you would encourage them to bring up or discuss?
I have thought so many times myself about how I don't understand how somebody can go through life and not think about this. I am guilty of watching trash TV, because that takes me away from my real life. But I sit here and think that those people really think that way so many times, and they think that the shallow way of, oh, it's all about me, it's all about what I can get, what I have, and they don't think about homeless people and where they are. And so I really encourage people to just, of course, be thankful for what you have, but also think about the fact that you really are more blessed than you think you are. Just because you're crying because you didn't get that purse that you wanted, or that car that you wanted,
that Jeep you've been dreaming about.
Or that Jeep that you've been dreaming about that's wrapped like Wonder Woman. I can't understand myself how people can go through life and not worry about
other people.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
that's the best way to put it. Worry about other people.
It's funny you said that because I had this guy get into this big conversation with me the other day about pro-life. And I said to him, and I thought about it briefly, but it's not like it was a long thought out thought. It was just there. I said, they're not pro-life, they're pro-birth. There's a big difference. Pro-life is not only birthing that child, but making sure that every child has the same opportunity as the other child, that every child has a parent that cares for them, that every child is given an education, that every child eats 3 meals a day, that every child gets to go to school, that every child gets to have a life of independence and self-sustainability. But the truth is after birth, there is no plan. The foster care system, there's nightmare stories about it. And some of it's good. But it's just, from what I see, from what we see, the number of aged out kids that come to Matthew's Hope, it's a broken system. Okay. There's so much about and then when you see someone, a believer who's an elder in their church and is a Bible study, leads Bible studies and a big pro-lifer, and all of a sudden they make the comment that we should round them up, get them cleaned up, give them their shots, and they're not in a program within 6 months, euthanize them. Well, how can you be a pro-lifer if you're picking who and choosing who gets to live and die?
Just disgusting.
And I find that disgusting, and unfortunately, it's more common than people think. I mean, well, we should be caring for our own, so it's okay that child died in the conflict between Israel and right. Okay. Oh, it was just an Israeli child, or it was just a
right.
I don't know that people have really thought out some of the things they say and think. They're just put it out there. And it's like, did you really just say that? And then here's the other thing that happens. You hear this stuff on, you got the guy from Fox that said something along the same lines recently, and there was no repercussions for it whatsoever. And the people that sat there with him, the woman looked a little bit taken by what he said, but the other guy says, yeah, just kill him. And you sit there and go, it was bad enough that you thought that, but you felt confident enough to say it on national television.
Right.
So, I know that. So when going back to the Thanksgiving, I think we really need to think about what we're thankful for and wonder what we're lacking in our own life that would bring us joy. And often empathy for others, caring for others is what gives us the greatest bit of joy.
Right.
Okay. It really does. I mean, I said to someone the other day, I said, it's almost like I went from an addiction to cocaine to serving others as my addiction.
Yeah.
I do. I get a high off of it, but at the same time, it's like, how could I not? When Charlene was asked a while back, how do you do what you do? And she goes, my question is, how do you not?
Right.
How do you not? I mean, it's fascinating, but not in a, oh, cool kind of way. It's fascinating as to what has happened to us that we really don't care as long as there's a turkey and a ham on our table.
Right.
What happens on the other is just something you see other people go through. Just isn't true.
Right.
When everyone is focused on things they are thankful and grateful for, do you find that donations and support tend to go up?
Well, here's what's interesting. So, we've been working through all the shortage of food and huge growth. And I will say that when I posted things just the other night, I do a lot of our posting on social media as far as needs go and storytelling. We had the one thing that talked about, I showed pictures of our shelves that really have been pretty peaked for the last year, just because of the number of people. And we're spending something like $5,000-$6,000 a month more on top of what's already invested into food that's coming from our operational budget to do that, to make sure people are eating. Then you throw in these big numbers that we're seeing. And so I just put it out there. I said, for us to continue to make sure these people get, some kind of food taken care of, nutrients and what have you. I don't know how long we can do it. And that post, the Brevard one, shared, last time I looked, it was made over almost 800 shares and 750 comments. That's unheard of. And everybody there was encouraging everyone to get involved. And then someone said to me, well, what will my $20 buy? And I said, let's just put it this way. If everybody making a comment here were to give $20, what could we do?
Right.
Okay. And that's kind of how you got to look at it. It's do what you can, not what you can't. Look, I had a guy hand us $100,000 the other day. He was in a position to do that. But I also realized that maybe 10 is what you can do.
Right.
Every bit helps. I call the 10 and the 25, the 50, the hundreds. That's the cake. The 100,000 things, which rarely happens, that's the icing. Okay. This year, the difference is instead of being the icing that we expand with or do more with, we're just going to be taking care of our basic every day. It's going to allow us to possibly get through.
So you mentioned your incredible growth several times now. Can you clarify what that growth isn't necessarily exciting?
Well, here's what's interesting. When I was back in corporate America, when you talked about growth in sales, you talked about growth in distribution. Yeah. That was celebration. The bonuses are coming in.
More money.
Okay? More money, exactly. Everybody's looking for that. You're producing the numbers. When people congratulate me personally at times for the growth of Matthew's Hope, I say, you do understand the growth is based on greater need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. When you say we have a $15 million, you go, $50 million budget, you go, wow, that's impressive. Yeah, I'm going to be about $500,000 short of what I really need. It comes in the front door, it goes out the back. We stretch and we do a lot with a little. But when we grow, it's a very different, even if one of our supporters own nursing homes. And I said to him one day, I said, when you put someone into a bed, that produces income for your business.
Right.
When we put someone into a bed, that costs us that much more.
Right. Right.
Okay. So it's like having a family and you leave in the morning and you had 3 children, you come back that evening and there's 10 sitting there waiting to be fed, but you have the same size house and you have the same budget for 3 kids. And now you're trying to serve 10. That's the life in the day of Matthew's Hope, of us constantly. Shelley and I are talking, probably our biggest throughout the week is at least a couple times a week. What can we pay? How do we do this? How do we stretch that? What's coming in? I mean, it's a full-time job. Just, it's not a shell game because that's not what it is. But literally, you're kind of sitting there going, okay, we need to pay that. However,
what are the priorities first?
Right. But we can't not feed these people over here.
Right.
So how do we get around that? That's a lot of.
If the lights aren't on, we can't feed anybody.
Well, that's it. You got to pay the insurance. You got to pay for the vehicles. You got to pay for the fuel. You got to pay for the employees. You got to pay for the lights, the utilities. It just goes on and on. There's so much that the general public doesn't see. So when we hear the word growth, we kind of tighten up and pucker a little bit going, what's that look like?
Right.
Okay. Now, the other side of it is I will tell you that's been interesting this past year. There has been money tied up since the first of the year that was to be awarded to nonprofits. Though Matthew's Hope does not dip into a lot of that, only 6.2% of our budget is taxpayer funded. Our partners are funded that way. And so we're seeing a consolidation of nonprofits where what I mean by that is they're going out of business or they're basically just going through the motions, hoping to hear what's going to be said next out of Washington that might release some of those funds. So we've got a perfect storm when you see a shutdown of the government, when you see funds that have been tied up for 9-10 months now, all these other things. And then you're seeing a growth because of where the economy is at, a huge growth in how many people we're seeing.
Yeah. Okay.
This past couple of weeks were the first times that when you add the numbers all up, we were actually going over 1,000 touches in a week's time. That's a lot of touches.
That is a lot of touches.
That's a lot of sandwiches. That's a lot of showers. That's a lot of medical attention. Let me touch on medical real quick. I was talking with Linda Motes, who's our director of medical services, on the phone this morning, and we were talking about numbers and how fast they're growing in our medical areas. And I said, it's a shame that we can't get our local hospitals to understand that we're keeping roughly 70 to 80 people out of their ERs every week.
Okay.
Let me take that back, because now you got to double that, because that's two. You take two locations.
Right.
So now we're talking somewhere between 150 and 160 people that would have gone for medical care in the ER. Now, why should you care as someone in the public? Well, it means that when you go there with a real emergency, there won't be some guy in there that has to get some wound cleaned up, taking a spot. It means that money that would have had to been spent and increase your bills aren't going to happen because we took those people out of the thing. But also it means the people we're serving are getting better care because we're not only triaging their whatever going on, we're doing the follow-up to care to make sure that they got the right medications, that they're taking them, that they're going to physical therapy. We've had few people go through cancer this year to make sure they got their radiation treatment, or what's the other one? Radiation and chemotherapy, right? Along with the surgeries that took place. So there's a whole lot of moving parts, and how much can we absorb?
Yeah.
You know, my feelings are if we're taking that off the hospitals should be looking at us and saying, what can we do? We've saved a few million. Can we throw you $100,000? Whatever. Those are things we're dealing with on a daily basis. What does it have to do with the holiday? Well, you want to try to make sure these people have the best possible holiday, but you also want to make sure your doors stay open. Okay. So though we're thankful for a few days off with our families, what have you, I promise you, not one moment of one day of any single hour of every single minute are we not in the back of our mind thinking of our people.
Yeah.
Right.
But also, what are we walking back into a few days from now? Because every time there's time off, it comes back with a roll of blowback on what else happened those few days that we were closed.
So Giving Tuesday is next week. What are some things people can do this time of year to help you, help them, help themselves?
Money.
You know, it's the one thing. Yeah. People never want to talk about money, but the truth is money is our biggest need because it gives us the freedom to do what we have to do at the time. Today, it could be food. Tomorrow, it could be clothing. Next week, it'd be hygiene. You know, we certainly want all those things. Travel size hygiene, single serve, non-perishable food. Right now, we're looking for new and gently used, warm, cold weather, clothing, blue jeans, heavier socks, hoodies, sweatshirts, beanie hats, gloves, preferably new because we can use those as a Christmas gift for someone to get something new this year, but also something they need.
Right.
But the money is the biggest thing. And the good news right now, we have a couple things going on where we have people that have anonymous donors that have put up money that are willing to match donations through the end of the year. So if you're thinking about giving, here's a great time to give. You don't have to do anything extra.
Double your money.
However it came in, it will be counted towards that. And you send us $1, we're going to get $2.
Yep. So
that's huge. But yeah, and we're going to be asking and doing a lot of things before the end of the year to try to be able to make sure we're prepared for the first of the year, because I feel like I'm not even coming up for air, but because what's going to happen is we will do pretty well the first couple months of the year. And then for about 6 months, it's just flat. And we have to figure out how to budget through that.
I think it's important to remind everybody too. I like how you mentioned if everybody just gave a little bit and consistently get on a monthly donation.
Can you imagine? Let me throw this out there for a minute. Between our Facebook pages, Matthew's Hope Ministries, Matthew's Hope Brevard, Matthew's Hope Orange, our Facebook, our Hope Chest pages, our preschool pages,
our Instagram,
we're like 30,000 followers. Okay, think about that, 30,000 followers. That if each of them gave us $10,
right?
What if each of them gave us $100?
Yeah,
30,000 times 100. What's the math? I don't know.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I'm good at math.
I have to. Where's my phone? I got to figure it out.
Right.
But the point is that something that sounds small and insignificant,
it's not to us.
It's not to us. And when you put it all together, you know, I don't see it's never happened before. But how cool would that if somebody said, hey, just want to let you know this particular donation was made towards the other 30,000 people that I'm going to challenge to do the same.
Oh,
yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would be,
and
because
we
it's
see it
doable
all the time.
Yeah.
Not with us, but we see it through, streaming platforms and things like that. And they raise hundreds of thousands of dollars in one night. I see it with my kids all the time, and they're streaming. And
how would one do that?
Well, I mean, look, first you can mail us a check. The check's still cash.
Like, dude,
Most people, what they do is they go onto our website or through a link through one of our Facebook pages, and they can hit donation button. When they go there, it's going to show you Brevard or Orange County. You can pick that, and then it's going to give you amounts you can choose. It also gives the option, and this is something that we've been working very hard to do, is to build more sustaining donors and community partners. And those are people or businesses that commit to an amount of money each month or each quarter type of thing. And what that allows us to do is budget throughout the year and knowing kind of what we have to work with. And it's less painful for the businesses and less painful for the individuals to spread it out than do it all at one time. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes because at the end of the year, people, for tax purposes, something that new is happening that's very cool is lately we've received letters from people that have included us, Matthew's Hope, in their will, in their end of life giving, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We've also had people that are giving out of their managed funds. So we're seeing new ways and creative ways that people with not a lot are able to do a lot more with little, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, still, even at this point, I want to say that we're still at about 65% of our money is still individuals. It's everyday mom and pop that understands our mission and just wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They want to be a part of the change they want to see in their community, and it's an easy way to do it. And we got a track record.
That's great. So thank you guys both for talking about Thanksgiving and how it's affecting homelessness, our homelessness community. My heart goes out to all of them. And I hope that somebody steps up and actually does that little challenge.
How cool would it be?
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you guys want to add before we wrap up?
No, I think I'll just say this. We talked about early on, what are we thankful for? And we are thankful for those things. But we're also, I think I can speak for both of us and our entire team, is we're thankful that God has allowed us the privilege of serving these folks. They are certainly the least of these. He clearly laid out in Matthew 25, 35 through 46, what we are to do. I joke that, on our shirts, you often see Matthew 25, 35 through 40. And that talks about what you're to do for what you've done for the least of these, you've also done for me. The part nobody wants to read is 41 through 46, which it basically tells you what's going to happen if you don't.
Right.
And I think that sometimes even as believers, we don't want to, let's not look at that part. Here's my 4 years of seminary. Love God, love his people, shut up. Shut up is Scott 3:16. You won't find it in scripture, but truly love God, love his people, and you watch what happens. Mm-hmm. Matthew's Hope's growth over the last 15 and a half years, quickly rising on 16 years, has been a story of the talents. Mm-hmm. We did well with a little, we're given a little bit more. We did well with that, we did more. And I suspect that God has rewarded us in that way because we have been good stewards and we've been transparent. We haven't always gotten it right. We make our mistakes, and anybody who knows me personally knows I've made my fair share of mine. But it really has been a God thing to watch this thing unfold over the years and to bring the right people in at the right time. We talk about, Shelley wanting to come on board so much, 5 years or so before she ever did, but she was there at the right time. I was in the right mind frame at that time. God has changed my thinking in ways to where instead of just trying to take more and more onto myself, of building a team alongside her of people that they got this. Mm-hmm. They got this. Matthew's Hope is healthy, and we're going to see some challenges. I'm sure we're in some big challenges over the next few years. The right people in the right place at the right time. And if you're willing to watch and make eye contact, that's the key, make eye contact. I think you're going to find that some pretty cool stories of literally people walking out of not just the ashes, but literally walking out of the flames.
Love that. Well, thank you both for all that you're doing and your team as well. And thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe, donate, and become that consistent donor. That would be great.
And if you're like me, skip the turkey. Just go to the mashed potatoes and the stuffing and gravy. That's all you really need.
Take care and enjoy your week.